as you drift off to sleep. So let's go ahead and get started. Look how cute these pictures are. The first story is 3 Jumpy Kittens. Mother Cat had 3 little gray kittens. They had blue eyes and pink tongues. One afternoon, she said to them, "It's time for your naps. Come with me." So they all went to the kittens' bedroom. Then she tucked up their paws and she tucked up their toes, and she pulled the blue blanket way up to their nose. "Go to sleep," she told them. "Bye now." But the minute the door was shut, the 3 little kittens jumped up. They untucked themselves so quickly that the blanket flew to the floor. They chased one another around the room. They laughed and talked. The door opened and in came their mother. "What's going on here?" she said. "We don't feel sleepy," said the 3 little kittens. "How do you feel?" "Jumpy. We all feel jumpy." "Sit in a row and let me see your faces," their mother told them. They did. Mother Cat looked at them. "Yes, your eyes are very wide awake," she said. "You do not look sleepy, not one bit. Well, then you may jump away. But do it softly, please, for I do feel sleepy. It is nap time for me." "Oh, let us put you to bed, Mother," said the 3 little kittens. "That will be fun." So they all went to her room. Then they tucked up her paws and they tucked up her toes, and they pulled the blue blanket way up to her nose. "Go to sleep," they told her. "Bye-bye now." Then the 3 little kittens went back into their own room to begin jumping. They jumped from the bed to the chest, one by one. They jumped from the chest to the armchair. They jumped from the armchair to the straight back chair. And all the time they jumped very softly, so they would not wake their mother up. "Well, what shall we do now?" asked one of them when they had done all this jumping over and over again. "I'll tell you," said another. "Let's make a tower and jump to the top of that." "How?" "We'll build it. Come on. First this armchair, then the straight back chair, then the wastebasket. And this time let's all jump together at the same minute. See, the clock is almost at 3. When it finishes striking, we'll jump." They waited. The clock struck 1. The clock struck 2. The clock struck 3. And then they all jumped. But oh, what a surprise! They jumped so hard that the whole tower fell over. What a crash it made! But just after that, there was the most awful noise. Then the kittens told her what happened. Now put the things back in their places, Mother Cat told them. They did, but they did it very slowly. Their feet dragged. They yawned wide, big yawns. Sit in a row now, and let me see your faces, said Mother Cat. Why, your eyes are half shut. I do believe that you are sleeping now. Oh yes, we don't feel jumpy anymore, said the kittens. We are through with that. So Mother Cat put them into bed. Then she tucked up their paws, and she tucked up their toes, and she pulled the blue blanket way up to their nose. Go to sleep, she told them. Bye-bye now. But the kittens didn't say anything. They were asleep already. So that was story number 1. Story number 2 is called Mrs. Groundhog's Grapevine. Mrs. Squirrel had 2 little squirrels, Fluffy and Frisky. One afternoon she said to them, "You may go with me today to see my friend, Mrs. Groundhog." She washed their faces and paws and put on their best clothes. They went along the little mossy green path through the woods. Very soon now we shall see Mrs. Groundhog's house, said Mrs. Squirrel. It has a little white fence with a grapevine on it. Goody, said Frisky and Fluffy. Grapes? Yes, but you must not ask for any, said their mother. Perhaps she will say, eat some, but you must not even hint. No, Mother, we won't, said the little squirrels. Then they arrived at Mrs. Groundhog's cozy little house. Yes, there was the white fence with the grapevine on it. The grapes were ripe, too, nice pink purple ones. Mrs. Squirrel went up on the porch and knocked. "Oh, I am so glad to see you," said Mrs. Groundhog, opening the door. "And are these your 2 little squirrels?" "Yes, Fluffy is the girl and Frisky is the boy." "How do you do?" said Mrs. Groundhog. Fluffy and Frisky held out their paws and made nice little bows. Mrs. Groundhog laughed, but it was a funny laugh, and her teeth showed. "I didn't say that," she said, "but I guess I didn't realize what hungry little squirrels they were." Mrs. Squirrel said, "They were very naughty. I am more sorry than I can say. I shall take them home now and decide what to do about this." "Oh, don't do anything," said Mrs. Groundhog. "The vines are still left, and there will be more grapes after a while. Now I will walk along with you a little way, for I am going to see my mother. She lives on the top of Blueberry Hill. I am going to take her a bag of potatoes." "And I shall help you carry it up the hill," said Mrs. Squirrel. She was so glad to do something for Mrs. Groundhog. "You children, run home." Frisky and Fluffy hurried away. They felt a little queer. They knew they had eaten too many grapes, and they were ashamed. They were very quiet going home. When they got there, Fluffy said, "I have an idea," and she whispered something into Frisky's ear. "Yes," he said, "let's do that." They got their own money out of their little bank. They had been saving it to buy a little cart. They found the market basket and rushed out of the house. When their mother came in, they were back home again. "Well," she asked them, "what shall we do about those grapes?" "We have already done something," they said. When they had finished telling her, their mother's eyes were very bright, and her mouth looked smiley. "It was a very good idea," she said. "I am quite sure I should never have thought of it myself." When Mrs. Groundhog came back to her house just about sundown, she was so surprised that she almost fell over. The grapevine was full of things: more grapes, a few apples and plums and peaches, and a carrot or two. Yes, there was even a banana and a little cabbage and some nuts. Mrs. Groundhog had never seen such a vine before, and how could it have grown all those things just while she was up the hill? She blinked her eyes. She thought she was dreaming. Then she went closer and stared. All the things were tied on with red string. Then she knew who had done it. "Why, the darlings," she said. "What hungry little squirrels they were, but what nice ones too." She turned right around and went over to their house to thank them. The end. And now for our last story. Mrs. Rabbit's Birthday Cake. Once there was a family of 3 little rabbits. They were Munchie, Bunchy, and Boo. Munchie was the oldest. One morning he said to his brother and sister, "Come here." They came there. "What day is this?" he whispered. "Is it Saturday?" "No, it is Friday," said Boo. "Then tomorrow is Mother's birthday. We must make her a birthday cake," said Boo, "and we shall have to do it all ourselves. Our daddy is far away at the other end of the clover field. So we must do it all ourselves and keep it a secret too," said her brothers. Mrs. Rabbit was out in the lettuce patch. When she came in, she asked, "Well, who would like to go to market with me this fine morning?" "Not I, please," said Munchie. "Not I, please," said Bunchy and Boo. Mrs. Rabbit. She put on her best red skirt. She got out her green market basket. Goodbye for now, she told them. I shall buy a nice cottage cheese, and I shall stop at the bakery for a loaf of honey bread. So I shall be gone quite a while. Be good little bunnies. Oh yes, Mother, we will, said Munchie, Bunchy, and Boo. They watched her red skirt go up Daisy Hill. Then they went to work. They found the flour and the sugar. They spilled some too. They broke eggs, crash, splash, into the big yellow bowl. They hurried, or they scurried, and they hurried. We must finish this before Mother gets back, said Munchie. Then we will hide it behind the potato bag. They baked the cake. They made some pink frosting, as bright as roses. We need some birthday candles, said Bunchy. I'll skip over and borrow some from Mrs. Squirrel. Then skip fast, said Munchie. Mother might come back. Bunchy ran. He came back with the candles. They put them on the cake. Just then they saw something red coming down Daisy Hill. There is Mother, cried Boo. Never mind, the cake is all done now, said Munchie. Mrs. Rabbit opened the door. Happy birthday, they shouted, jumping up and down. Their mother was so surprised. She said, why, how lovely, a pretty cake and candles too. Thank you, my dear bunnies. Then Boo began to cry. A tear ran down her nose. Oh, we have made a mistake, she said. Today isn't your birthday, it's tomorrow. We were so excited when we saw you coming that we forgot to hide the cake. The three little rabbits stood in a row and looked sad. Now cheer up, all of you, their mother told them. Listen, today is my birthday. That was why I put on my best red skirt this morning. That was why I went to buy a cottage cheese at market and a loaf of honey bread at the bakery. But what day is this? Isn't it Friday? Said Boo. No, it's Saturday, and just the right day for my cake. Then they had a wonderful birthday party, for while they were lighting the candles, they heard a skitter-scatter in the grass behind the fence. And who should arrive but Mr.